Hey guys, so today we'll be doing the next part of what if Goku was like Dr. Gero. So where we left off is after future Gohan and future Trunks came by to give Goku the heart virus medicine. And so there's now a 2-year time skip until the androids are fated to arrive. So in this time, Goku is actually really happy to hear that his adopted dad, Dr. Gero, is actually still alive. And he actually really wants to meet him as soon as possible. But he realizes that exposing too much of the future to anyone else might cause some problems. So he decides to prepare first. In this scenario, Goku is not dumb like the original. So he actually does take his heart medication, making sure that he is healthy and ready to go. On top of this, he makes sure to upgrade the protections on his androids. So Piccolo and Frieza now, both of them he works on the software so that they cannot be hacked or taken over the way they were last time, because Goku didn't actually think that anyone could reverse engineer his technology. So he made it so that it only responds to him and his family. So basically people with with certain identifiers. And other than that, they'll just act normally like normal people. So after this, Goku makes sure to test out how strong the Z fighters have gotten since he was gone. So how he does this is first he calls Vegeta and Raditz and Gohan to come train with him, as they're curious to see how strong Goku got, and Goku is curious to see how strong they got. And Goku can see they've all made significant strides, considering they don't have all his buffs and hacks at the moment. So Goku can see that they've been training hard. And he obviously commends them over this, but he's quite disappointed to see that none of them had unlocked the Super Saiyan transformation. So the first thing he does is try to spur it out of them. So he starts making fun of Vegeta, saying, "Aren't you embarrassed how a low class managed to reach this state before you? How does it feel that after all these years of seeing what a Super Saiyan looks like, you still can't achieve it? You will always be weaker than me, and there's nothing you can do about it." And something about this, hearing it directly from Goku for the first time, sparks something inside of him. He looks up to the sky and shouts out in rage, and the sky darkens as he too unlocks the Super Saiyan transformation and launches a flurry of attacks on Goku. And Goku actually lets a few land because he wants Vegeta to let off some steam and not just blow up the planet or something. So eventually Vegeta cools down and he understands what Goku did, and this actually makes him happy. It satisfies him, I mean. So Raditz sees what just happened, and thinking that he's Goku's brother, an older one at that, there's no reason why he shouldn't unlock this form too. This annoys him as Raditz flies away for the next 2 weeks to continue his own training. And now Goku takes Gohan to train him himself and to unlock Gohan's latent potential. So now Goku's now training with Gohan, and Gohan eventually learns the Super Saiyan, and he gets quite versed with it. And eventually all the Saiyans reconvene. Raditz also goes and trains and learns the Super Saiyan form by himself through intense training. And so now all the Saiyans there have the basic Super Saiyan form. And everyone thinks this is the plateau of their power. However, Goku says, now guys, don't think you're done with just this. Actually, there's a lot further to go. As Goku then shows them the second stage of Super Saiyan Grade 2, as everyone is surprised that the Super Saiyan form could get pushed much further. And Goku says, this isn't even the final part of this Super Saiyan stage. There's a lot more that can be achieved, like a stable Super Saiyan form where you can stay in it indefinitely and you can basically use it as your base. As Goku then shows them Super Saiyan Grade 4, the most stable state of Super Saiyan, as now everyone has something to aim for in these next 2 years to make sure that they're prepared for these androids. And so, while everyone's working on that, Goku decides to now pay a visit to Dr. Gero, as he talks to Bulma, and Bulma says that she actually knew quite a bit about Dr. Gero and about science, as she heard about one red ribbon scientist scattering to hide in the mountains. As Goku was surprised that she never told him this, but Bulma just says it was just rumors. I didn't want you to be riled up over nothing. As Goku then decides to check it out. So using the help of Kami tells him where the android, like where Dr. Gero would be located. So Dr. Gero is busy working on his contraptions and his experiments, and all of a sudden he hears footsteps. He turns around and he's like, "Who is this?" As when he looks, he sees a tall figure with the spiky hair of a kid that he used to raise. As he shouts out, "Goku, is that you?" As Goku says, "Yes, it's me, Papa." As Dr. Gero has a great smile on his face, and he says, "Come here, my boy." As they fly towards each other and they give each other a big hug because they haven't seen each other in so many years. As Goku says, "I thought you were dead." And Dr. Gero says, "I wanted to come find you for so long, but I was worried that if I ever got found in the public again, they would execute me for my crimes. So no matter how much I wanted to see you, I couldn't venture out into the outside world." Which made sense to Goku. As Goku says, "I'm sorry I didn't try to find you earlier, but all I saw when I went back was destruction, and I saw what these guys did to my older brother, and I thought they did the same to you." And they basically have time to catch up with each other and fill in each other on what's going on. Gero is not surprised to hear that Goku's a Saiyan, but he's quite impressed to see how strong Goku has gotten. And Goku decides to warn Gero about the androids, as Gero actually cares about, Gero cares about Goku. So it's not going to be one of those situations where Gero doesn't listen to what Goku has to say and continues with his evil plans. Because more than getting revenge, he wants to spend time with his son and be a family again. That's more important to him, obviously, as any parent would have for their children. As Goku even tells Gero about how they can wish back their older brother who died all those years ago, and they don't have to go on this path for revenge, as there's a lot to explore and a lot to find out. And with the route he's going, the androids may betray him and may cause disaster on the world, ending up to thwart his revenge plan and causing harm for everyone. As Dr. Gero understands what he's saying, but Goku doesn't want Dr. Gero to stop his research either, as Goku then explains how in a few future warriors visited him and they told him about the androids that Dr. Gero is creating will be very strong, but the issue is that they gain self-awareness and they kill Dr. Gero, and basically they reprogram Goku's androids since Goku had died. As Goku asks Dr. Gero what type of androids he's been building that are capable of such things. At first, Dr. Gero shows how he'd been making scientific enhancements on his own body, and Dr. Gero is Goku's quite impressed by this, as Dr. Gero, since he'd been spying on Goku, of course, he'd been seeing the different developments Goku had added and been trying to engineer them for himself. So Dr. Gero added the eyes that can copy techniques, and he managed to improve on Goku's energy engine to create an infinite energy engine. So first, of course, Dr. Gero shows Android 19, and Goku's not too impressed. But Dr. Gero says, this one is fully mechanical, obviously, so it has a few restrictions. However, there are 3 more androids I would like to show you that have exceeded my expectations, actually, and have gone really powerful, even though they're made using human concepts. So first, they show Goku, Android 16. Dr. Gero explains how Android 16 was made mechanically, so he's not really human, but he's modeled after his son that died, his oldest son. And then he shows Android 17 and 18 modeled after, basically created from humans, and how strong they are, as Goku notices that they're around his power level currently, even with some of his transformations. as Goku is quite shocked and asks Dr. Gero how he was able to do this. And Dr. Gero said it was using pieces of DNA that were collected from you and your battles and from the different people that came here, and just adding them towards the experiments, and on top of that analyzing the way you fight, the way ki works, and creating scientific models and working with this. As Goku is quite impressed at the difference between his science and Dr. Gero's science, as you can see that Dr. Gero is much more scientifically equipped than he is, even in this cave, and he sees that he still has quite a bit more to learn and ways to improve. As Dr. Gero says, and this isn't even the craziest part, I created a fail-safe of sorts, my greatest invention ever, something that tested me to the realms and back, and it took me the longest time to develop, to engineer, and to create. I call him Cell. As Goku thinks and he realizes that none of the future warriors had warned him about this creature, as Goku then goes with Dr. Gero and he sees an egg. As Goku wonders what's in this egg, and Dr. Gero says, this is a composite of all the strongest warriors that have ever come across this planet, and all their DNAs, all their potentials, all their skills, techniques merged into one being, with all their potentials, their genius IQ, everything in one warrior. And basically, I created this warrior, so if all else fails, I have the ultimate warrior to fight by my side. As Goku realizes that if this creature had not been talked about in the future, Trunks and Gohan might be in a lot of danger. As Goku then says to Dr. Gero, I'm not going to ask you to destroy these androids, of course, but we're going to have to repurpose them for better uses, and in order to prevent the tragedies of the future to happen in the present. As Dr. Gero understands, and basically they move Dr. Gero on all his experiments to Capsule Corp. As now, eventually it takes some time, but Dr. Gero mellows out and he spends time with the Capsule Corp family, as they are basically one big family since Goku and Bulma are married. And we see eventually how future Trunks is born, as Vegeta spends a lot of time around Capsule Corp because he needs to make sure he's not too far behind Goku, and eventually spends time with Tights, Bulma's sister. And as they get closer with Vegeta, eventually things happen, and Trunks is born. So now everything is good. The 2.5 years pass. Eventually Android 17 and 18 are released, but they're mainly used as guards around the Capsule Corp area. And since Goku trained with Frieza anyway, he doesn't really train with these two androids. Android 16 basically hangs around with Gohan, since Gohan and Android 16 made a really good friendship, as Gohan sees him as kind of like an uncle figure. As now basically, and Android 16, because it's fully mechanical, has connection to the internet, so it's basically a really smart AI that Gohan can learn from and converse with. So he's really helpful with Gohan's studies, and he's a really good training partner, so they start spending time together. So the years pass, and Gohan and future Gohan and Trunks come back to the past, and Goku tells them basically that everything had been sorted and the problem had been solved, which surprises them both, as they see Dr. Gero living peacefully, Android 18 and 17 playing with baby Trunks. Like, everything seems to be all good. Even Raditz is just having fun, taking a girl on a date currently. Her name is Maron, and they met recently. So everything seemed to be all good, really peaceful actually, as future Trunks and Gohan were surprised that things ended that easily. But then Goku gives them a warning, if they've ever heard of an android called Cell, which confuses them both immensely, as they had never heard of an android called Cell, as they realize that they might have one more foe left to fight. And Dr. Gero says this is because Cell needed a few more years to develop after the androids 18 and 17, and Cell was created with absorption abilities to become perfect, because I couldn't make him perfect out of the gate. But once he absorbs the android 18 and 17, he becomes a foe much stronger than both of them. Like, even if you added both of them, their power levels together, once he absorbs them, his power level becomes on a whole different realm of capabilities, as this creates a lot of fear in Gohan and Trunks. And Goku realizes that without any intervention, his timeline is doomed, as basically the technology in this scenario makes everything too overpowered. So Goku decides to train Gohan and Trunks by himself and teach them everything that he knows so that they can protect their own future. And on top of that, just to make sure everything goes well, he decides to go with them to the future to make sure everything gets sorted peacefully and that they can go back to living a life that they want to live. So since there's no Goku in the future, there's no one with all these potential and all these hacks, and that means that if any enemy strong enough comes, there's no one to improve fast enough to match them. So Goku uses the Frieza DNA that he had taken all that time back, and he gives both Gohan and Trunks android enhancements, the ability to copy techniques to Trunks because Trunks never got it. And basically, on top of this, they both have Frieza potential and enhanced stamina now. As Goku then takes them to the time chamber for 2 years to train, Vegeta then says, I know this is my son and I want to train with him too, so I'm gonna be joining your little adventure. As Goku, Gohan, Trunks and Vegeta go into the time chamber to train for 2 whole days. And what happens after this? After this creates warriors on a whole different level. Goku doesn't become much stronger because he was already on a whole different level in the beginning. Like, we haven't even seen his max power level yet. However, Vegeta unlocks the Super Saiyan 2 transformation in this time of training. On top of this, Gohan and Trunks also level up quite significantly as they reach Super Saiyan 2. They learn the Ikari state and the Kaioken, becoming much stronger warriors. And Goku shows them something that he learned on Yardrat. That's an ultimate counter for any being like Cell that uses the power combined from different beings. As Goku teaches them the skill called Spirit Fission, as it separates 2 beings or separates the energy from an enemy, and you can use it against them. As they both learn Spirit Fission from Goku, and so does Vegeta. As now, they're equipped to fight against the androids and Cell in their world. So now, they go back in time, and the timeline is a shell of what Goku would have ever thought it would be. Buildings destroyed everywhere, people running for their lives, and maniacal laughs echoing in the background. As now, Goku realizes that if these guys did not go back in time, there was really no hope for this world. As now, they embark to fight. Vegeta, of course, tags along because he's not going to miss a good fight. It's been too peaceful for too long, and it's against his pride to be laying down doing nothing. So now the fight begins. Android 18 versus Trunks. Android 17 versus Gohan. Goku versus this android Frieza that had turned evil. As now, it's anyone's guess what this Frieza has been doing in these years, with nothing else to do but to train and to attack people. He must be much stronger than usual. And on top of this, finally, Vegeta has to fight the android Piccolo that got turned evil in this timeline. So now the fight begins. Gohan and Trunks, using their new powers of Super Saiyan 2, have a much easier fight against these androids and are actually landing solid hits. But eventually they're put on the back foot because these androids are much stronger than the original and could beat up the perfect Cell in the original Dragon Ball timeline. As now, they're put on the back foot. But Vegeta shouts out to Trunks, remember your pride. Think about what these guys have done to you. Will you let them slide? To which Trunks says, no, I will not. I will defend my timeline. As Trunks pulls out his sword and screams out as his rage reaches the skies, as his power level shoots up and he slashes through Android 18 in one blast. This motivates Gohan too, as he gains the resolve to also destroy Android 17. Now, Vegeta refuses to lose to Piccolo and refuses to be put on the back foot. So, even though Vegeta does not have this Kaioken technique, Vegeta then says, "I've been working on my own realms of power and ways to become stronger in my own way. And sorry, Kakarot, but I've kept my own secret from you." As he then says, "I was experimenting with combining this Ikari state with the Super Saiyan state, and I finally found my answer. Behold, Kakarot, the next stage of Saiyan evolution." As he then bulks into his Ikari state, as his hair stands up and his eyes turn yellow, as he then screams out, as he transforms, first turning into a yellow shade and seeming to become a great ape, but then he shrinks down, becoming a Super Saiyan 4, as we know. And Vegeta shouts out, "I dubbed this Super Saiyan 3. And he's really proud of himself, but then Goku says, "Actually, no, I have Super Saiyan 3. We can call that Super Saiyan 4. As Vegeta then says, "You already have another form. Well, now we have to see it then, or else you're bluffing." As then Goku then smiles at Vegeta, as Goku then screams for basically 3 minutes, like in the Majin Buu saga, as he then shows the Super Saiyan 3 transformation, surprising everyone. Even though the multiplier is less than Super Saiyan 4, they can see it's definitely a step up from Super Saiyan 2. As now, Goku and Vegeta launch into their fights. Vegeta obviously beats Piccolo with ease with this new transformation, as this transformation is too much for Piccolo to manage, even with his Kaiokens and high stamina. As this Piccolo is actually knocked unconscious and sealed using the Mafuba technique that Goku managed to copy from Kami. Because what I had failed to explain in the original is that in this situation, since Piccolo and Kami haven't fused at all yet, or they don't really need to fuse in this scenario, what Piccolo simply did was seal Kami, and then after that, he destroyed the Dragon Balls so that no one could use them. So now by sealing Piccolo, the chance for them to unseal Kami and use the Dragon Balls again is still possible. And Goku's fight with Frieza is actually quite interesting because it's long and blown out. And this Frieza actually has a transformation on his sleeve. I'm not going to give him golden, of course, because that's too broken for this point in the series. But similar to Cooler, he has a 5th transformation on top of his normal ones, which makes him quite powerful. So even though it's a much longer battle, and Goku actually feels the stings of his punches, because Frieza does have immense potential, so it's a more matched fight than anyone would usually think. Goku eventually, due to having the longer stamina and making sure to use his Senzu beans to heal himself, manages to outlast Frieza and kill him eventually. But this notifies to Goku that Frieza has a long way to go in terms of improvement, and that he was right in his evaluation of making Frieza a training partner. So now that this fight is done, Gohan and Trunks say their tearful goodbyes to the past timelines of Vegeta and Goku, as they then send them on their way. And Goku says, "Now that the androids are gone, you should be able to handle the Cell Fellow. And make sure, just in case, to use the Spirit Fission technique I taught you." As now, Goku and Vegeta go back to their timeline, and Gohan and Trunks manage to handle against Cell. So everything turns out well for them. So now that Goku and Vegeta are back in the present timeline, everything seems to be well. However, what they fail to account for is on the news, they start seeing that some small villages have hundreds of people going missing, and all that's left of them are their clothes left on the ground. So, what could be causing this? We'll have to find out on the next pod of What If Goku Was Like Dr. Gero. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.